Welcome to your HAP midterm review. This should be the primary tool, this document, not necessarily my voice, but this document should be the primary tool you're using to prepare for your midterm examination and then supplement from there. The midterm is sequential and starts off with the things we did in September. In Chapter 1, that was directional terminology. Recall that these directions, and there's a nice figure in your book in the chapter on this, which I would recommend you also reference. These directions come in pairs, and most of them are listed here. You have proximal versus distal, anterior versus posterior, superficial versus deep, superior versus inferior, and medial versus lateral. I think a good tool is to be able to reference example sentences using these terms properly. So, for example, the elbow is proximal to the wrist. Recall that proximal and distal are always used on the arms and legs only, the appendages. The heart is anterior to the spine. With superficial and deep, again, the skin is the easiest example. The skin is superficial to the muscles. The nose is inferior to the eyes. And the lungs are lateral to the heart. Next up from Chapter 1 was the planes or divisions of the body, often used in medical imaging. So your three-dimensional body can be cut in 3 planes of space with different imaging technologies like the MRI and CAT scan, for example. Easiest one to reference would be the plane that cuts you into superior and inferior halves. This is referred to as the transverse plane. Splitting you into anterior and posterior halves, which is harder to reference on a 2-dimensional piece of paper. But if you would imagine a large blade slicing you right down the middle of your head, down through your innards, and I guess splitting your legs in half too. This would be a coronal cut, or more commonly referred to as a frontal cut, or a frontal section, or the frontal plane. And then a cut that splits you into right and left halves is a sagittal section. If you recall, if the section is exactly equidistant between your right and left ends, then it's a mid-sagittal cut. This is the first page and will be part 1 of a 6-part series which I will be undertaking.